My name's Gary Stevenson, former trader and people's economist. This is Gary's Economics. Today we're going to talk about tax and national insurance. Okay, so if you've been following the news the last couple of months, you will have seen that the Conservative government has raised national insurance contributions. That means that as long as you work for your money, your pay packet is going to go down at the beginning of the next tax year by an extra 1.25%. Now, what does that mean? So the first thing is we need to explain very clearly what national insurance is. So national insurance is a fixed percentage of your salary which goes to the government as tax. It's very simple. Some people think or like to say that it's used to pay for your pension or your social care, but it's not. It's just a tax in many ways exactly like income tax. A certain percentage comes out of your salary, goes to the government as tax. Okay, so how is it different to income tax? And why has the government chosen to raise national insurance instead of income tax? Okay, so there are a few key differences. The first thing is you start paying national insurance at a lower rate of salary. So you don't pay national insurance until you make about 9.5 grand a year, and you don't pay income tax until about 12.5 grand a year. So people on very low incomes will pay national insurance, whereas a slightly higher income before you need to start paying income tax. The second important thing is income tax is what we call a progressive tax, in the sense that it's designed so that the higher your income, the more money you make, a higher percentage that you pay. So you only start paying 20% on low amounts of income, and then on very high amounts of income you pay 40%. National insurance is designed the opposite way. So you pay 12% on low incomes, and then when you get to higher incomes, you only pay 2%. So it's intentionally designed, national insurance, so that very rich people pay a very low percent. Unlike income tax, where very high income people pay a high percent. So that's strange. It's a very strange design of tax. It's designed specifically so that rich people pay less than poor people in terms of a percentage of their overall income. The third big difference is that national insurance is designed so that only working people pay it. Now, if you watched my earlier video, What is Wealth, you will understand that whilst the vast majority of people in this country make their money from working, most very, very rich people and families don't make their money from work, but instead own huge amounts of assets and get income from those assets. So while you might be working and making 30 grand a year, somebody who has a wealth of £1 billion, like Rishi Sunak's family, will make £30 million a year just from owning so much assets. National insurance does not tax income from assets, it only taxes income from work. So a 1.25% rise, which is what they voted through, if you make 30 grand a year, you'll pay £250 extra in tax. If you are like Rishi Sunak's father-in-law and you have £1 billion, you'll make about £30 million a year and you'll pay nothing. So it's a very interesting tax. High income people pay low percentages and extremely wealthy people pay nothing, whereas very low income people pay it and ordinary workers pay it. So to be honest, it's a pretty bad tax. Falls largely on poorer and middle income people, totally ignores very, very high income people. Especially if you're extremely wealthy and your income comes from wealth. Now, if you watched my first video, How the Rich Get Richer from COVID-19, you will have seen that during COVID-19, the rich made a huge amount of money, especially the very rich. We have the data on that now. We can see that billionaires in this country saw their wealth increase by about 22%. So the top 3 billionaires saw their wealth increase by £20 billion just in COVID. The top 250 had a wealth increase of over £100 billion. So why is it that after a crisis where ordinary people suffered and the rich got very, very rich, the government has chosen a tax which makes high income people pay a low percent and makes extremely wealthy people pay nothing? I don't think the answer is very complicated. It's probably because our chancellor is a billionaire. So this guy probably doesn't want to raise taxes on billionaires. But you know, it's not just the chancellor. If you look at other senior politicians like David Cameron, like George Osborne, like Nick Clegg, like Tony Blair, if we look at what they've done since they left office, generally they've gone to work for big corporations and made extremely high salaries. So David Cameron, for example, went to work for Greensill, which is a company which went bust, but he was making, I think, over $10 million working there. So if we live in a world where the main politicians become multi-millionaires or even are billionaires when they're in office, they are unlikely to raise taxes on multimillionaires and billionaires. The end result is they raise taxes on people making 20 or 30 grand a year, ordinary people. Now, if you watch my video, What is Wealth, you will see that we already have a system where wealth inequality is very high. A lot of money transfers from people who don't have wealth towards the owners of wealth every single year, which means they get richer and ordinary people get poorer. This is why housing is becoming less affordable and why the economy is struggling to recover. If we add on top of that a system where we raise taxes on ordinary people and we specifically exclude multimillionaires and billionaires, this is going to get worse much quicker, and it's going to affect ordinary families, their ability to get jobs, their ability to get houses. So basically, it's a corrupt system. Look, we've just come out of a crisis where lots of people have died, many more people have suffered serious financial hardship, and yet multimillionaires and billionaires have seen their wealth increase by an enormous amount. After that, when the country needs money, and this money is being raised to pay for elderly care, rather than taxing the billionaires who made a fortune during the crisis, a literal billionaire chancellor is taxing you. Now, if we stand by and let this happen, then next time there's a crisis, next time they need money, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing again. They're going to protect multimillionaires and billionaires because they themselves are multimillionaires and billionaires, and they're going to tax you, your money, instead of them and their billionaire mates. So I think now is an important time to take a stand, to push back, to do whatever you can. You know, that means talking to your friends and family, explaining what's happening, show them this video, send a letter to your MP, tell them you're not happy about it, you know, especially if you have a Conservative MP who are in power. Ask them, why are these guys not taxing billionaires? Ask them why they're taxing ordinary people instead. Don't just stand by and let it happen. Understand what's happening, push back, tell your friends, tell your family, and take a stand. Because if ordinary people allow the super rich to tax them while they themselves often end up paying rates of tax 10%, 5%, even less, then it's going to be a system where ordinary people progressively lose their houses, lose their ability to make money, and our next generation is going to be poor. So yeah, fight back, spread this message, share this video, tell your friends, tell your family, don't let it happen. Happy? Happy with that? We good? Yeah. Housing could be so much more affordable, wages could be so much higher, and we could have so many more options in how we live our lives. Some of them put a lot of money into paying economists and think tanks to tell you that inequality is important for the economy. That is not true.